Would you work against the mule, Magnifico?
I only play to eat and live another hollow day. I would gladly play for another purpose.
When Toran, Beta, and Uncle Randu agreed to use Magnifico as a bargaining chip, they thought this meeting would change everything. They had risked everything to get here, not just to plead their case, but to deliver the one person they believed could prove it. They thought they were going to stop a war, and all they needed was a chance to convince Indbur that Magnifico, this odd, soft-spoken performer, held the key to understanding the mule. But what they didn't realize is that by walking Magnifico into that room, they might have handed the enemy the mic. We've seen Magnifico slowly come out of his shell in recent episodes. He's no longer hiding in the background. He's speaking up, claiming space, and now, in this moment, he plays directly into the heart of Mayor Indbur. Magnifico is not the type to argue or defend himself because he doesn't need to. All he has to do is play. And suddenly, he matters. That's why he's always pushing for it, always trying to convince someone to let him perform. And it's not just him. The people around him know it too. Anytime things get tense, someone says the same thing. Let him play. And once he does, everything shifts. And everyone in that room knows what the VZ Sonar can do. They know how the mule uses it to control. But when Magnifico plays, they don't question it. They just listen. That's the part that should terrify them. But it doesn't, because the music feels good. And that's exactly the danger. When he played, the tension collapsed. Indbur listened. The commanders listened. And just like that, what began as a warning turned into something far more seductive, which is agreement. You might think this was unity, that Magnifico brought everyone together through his music. But it wasn't. In fact, this was surrender, wrapped in music and coated in emotions. Everyone just let go of their doubts, their distrust, and their better judgment, because the feeling was too powerful to resist. They thought they were using Magnifico as a bargaining chip, but the moment they let him lead, he delivered them, straight to the vault and straight to the mule. Magnifico's performance. No matter where the VZ Sonar is played, the walls of resistance start to fall. Even Indbur, a man built from suspicion, sat still, like something inside him had been unplugged. If you pay attention to what Gale actually says, as Magnifico plays, she admits the performance unified the Foundation for the first time, but what she didn't say, and what no one in that room seemed to notice, is how fast it all happened. But before the first note, and even back when he was taken from the mule in Calgon, Magnifico had been treated like cargo or an asset to be traded or tossed aside. But by the time the music stopped, he had the room. He had managed to soften their fear. And that's the most dangerous kind of influence. The kind you don't realize is happening until it's already done. Even the way he spoke about the mule should have raised flags. When Han Pritcher asked if he'd turn against his master, Magnifico didn't hesitate. He said he played only to survive, and that he'd gladly play for a better cause. The way he answered that was a bit too quickly and too clean. It didn't sound like someone trying to escape. It sounded like someone flipping a switch. Maybe he really is harmless. Maybe he's just a witness, pulled along by forces he doesn't understand. Or maybe this performance wasn't just music. Maybe it was a test run and a warning in disguise. Maybe the traitors didn't just bring Magnifico to New Terminus. Maybe they delivered themselves to him. And if that's the case, by the time they realize, it'll be too late. The Vault's false promise. Magnifico's performance didn't just soften their hearts, it opened the door to something much bigger, which was belief. For the first time, the people on New Terminus and the traitors weren't at odds. They weren't just negotiating terms. They were sharing a feeling, a sense that maybe, just maybe, the plan was still working, that all the pain, the losses, the threats of the mule were part of something Selden had already accounted for. And when Gale said the vault was opening, timed perfectly with the eclipse, that feeling hardened into faith. The leadership of New Terminus didn't sign an alliance out of logic. They gave themselves over to the moment, both emotionally and spiritually. It wasn't about strategy anymore. It was about prophecy. They saw Magnifico's performance as a sign. Gale's voiceover confirmed it. The moons aligned, the sky darkened, and Hari Selden, the myth, the promise, was about to appear. They thought they were witnessing the second coming of the plan. But if you really think about it, they didn't really have any answers. All they had was hope. Fragile, desperate hope. The kind that makes smart people ignore their instincts. Indbur didn't trust the traitors. The traitors didn't trust the Foundation. And no one in that room could say for sure whether the vault was actually on their side, but in that moment, they needed it to be. So they projected meaning onto everything. The timing of the eclipse, the opening of the vault. They chose to believe it was all for them. And that belief is what unified them. That's what makes this moment so dangerous. Because when you're that desperate for a savior, all it takes is one sign to follow the wrong one. The Mule crashes the party. We all know what happens when they get to the vault. You can check the full breakdown in the description. But here's what matters. They thought the vault was opening to save them, but it opened into chaos. Just as the eclipse reached totality, just as everyone leaned in, ready for Hari Seldon's solution to the Mule, the Mule's voice broke through. Hari was taken aback that he vanished, which then activated the vault's null field. The ceremony scattered, and in the span of seconds, unity turned to panic. This was confirmation that the moment they believed they were safe was the exact moment they were most exposed. And it never would have happened if they hadn't all agreed to show up in the same place at the same time. But someone brought them to that conclusion. Someone's music made them come to that consensus. And that someone is Magnifico Giganticus. A victory that was never real. So the vault didn't save them. It barely even responded. Hari didn't guide them. When things got real, he literally vanished. And the miracle they rallied around, Magnifico's performance, the eclipse, the alignment of it all, wasn't proof of anything. It turned out to be a trap. The kind people cling to when the truth feels too uncertain to face. The Foundation didn't gain an advantage that day. They lost their grip. They handed over emotional control to a stranger. They handed over strategic control to a myth. And when the Mule's message broke through, it revealed they never had a plan. This was a big reveal, because they had mistaken a performance for prophecy. They'd turned a moment of pressure into a story of salvation. And they also believed because they needed to believe, not because they had any reason to. And in hindsight, that's what makes this scene so haunting. Because once you strip away the hope, all that's left is how quickly they gave it away. A celebration turned trap. What started out as a win turned into a disaster. They thought they had unity, purpose, and even Hari Seldon, or at least the promise of him. And for a second, you could almost believe it too, that they'd made it through the chaos, that the plan was still unfolding, that Magnifico's song had brought peace. But now, it looks like a trap. Not a deliberate one, maybe. Not one set by the vault, or even by the Mule, but a trap built from emotion. Because what they walked into wasn't salvation. It was a setup. One they helped build, and one they wanted to believe in. They ignored the warning signs. They didn't ask the hard questions. They let a stranger pull the strings because it felt good, and it was easier than holding the weight themselves. And the one person at the center of it all, Magnifico Giganticus, still hasn't been explained. Was he working for the Mule? Was he sent here for this exact purpose? Or is he just doing what he's always done? Playing the song people want to hear so he can stay alive one more day? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you like this, you can also check out our other Foundation videos right now. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and catch you in the next one.